All right. Hi, everyone. This is Molly Stenberg with Team Nutrition, and welcome to today's chat. We had a lot of background noise, so I went ahead and muted everyone, but feel free if you want to share or ask a question to unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to speak with us. We've had a lot of great sharing on these webinars, so feel free to speak up and share tips or questions as we go through the day today. Looks like we have about 14 people on so far, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, can you guys see this school nutrition chat agenda slide? All right, well, typical to how we usually do this, we'll open it up with some updates from OPI, and then we'll really get into some good resources today. Erin Turner is with us from OPI, and she will be sharing quite a few resources with us that she has spent a good amount of time, the last 24 hours, the last 30 hours developing. So I'm not sharing my video today because I have a hard time navigating two screens. So I know it's nice to see each other, but I'm taking the easy way out today and not doing my video. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Erin, and she will give us some information, little update from OPI.
Great. Thank you, Molly. Give me one moment to share my screen here.
Oh, Erin, I might have to make you the host. Let me do that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it says we are viewing your screen.
Can you see my screen? It has
Yes.
the Montana OPI website up. Perfect. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's chat. I just wanted to begin by showing you our web page and give you another update about the waivers that have been implemented for next school year, and how you can sign up to use those waivers. So on our OPI website, main page, under Reopening Schools tab at the top right, will bring you to this page here. There's also information about guidance for reopening schools for all the different departments, not just nutrition. But our section is down at the bottom under school nutrition, where it lists the survey for you to fill out to use these waivers. So there's 5 different waiver options for next year for the National School Lunch Program. And then you just click on this link here to actually fill out the survey. And it's okay if you don't know yet if you need these waivers or not. It depends on how your food service model next year is going to look. If you know, great, go ahead and fill out the waiver. If something changes mid-year and you need to change and add on another waiver, or delete one of the waivers because you go back to a different model, that's fine. Just go ahead and come in this form and update it. Does anybody need me to go over the different waivers that there are? I can briefly do that. There's a non-congregate feeding waiver, which allows you to not have to serve your students in the cafeteria. They can grab and go. They can take the meals into a non-congregate setting, like at their home, for instance. There's also the mealtime flexibility, which allows you to not have to serve breakfast in the morning and at a specified time, and then lunch in the afternoon at a specified time. It allows you the flexibility for perhaps if you have a model of you're feeding kids who are doing remote learning, where you can send them both breakfast and lunch at one time for that day, or multiple days if you needed to send them because they come to school every other day or whatever the case may be. that allows you the flexibility in your meal service times. Parent and guardian meal pickup for children allows the student not to have to be present to type in their lunch number to collect their meal. Their parent can do it on their behalf. It is limited to just parents and guardians. Some adult just can't come and pick up 20 meals to distribute to their neighborhood. So the parent or the guardian of the children waiver allows them to pick up the meal or for you to drop it off at their home without that child being there. The meal pattern flexibility is another waiver that's available. Should you need it, you can sign up for it on an as-needed basis. That is in place just in case distributors are having a hard time getting products for you. Like if the distributor ran out of milk, that's a whole component. There's really no substitute for that. So you would use this waiver as needed to still be able to get a reimbursable meal, even though you may be missing a meal component. We're asking you to be very detailed in your documentation on the production record to show that you did order it. It just didn't come in for that day or whatever the case may be. And then there's the offer versus serve flexibility, which allows you to not have to provide the offer versus serve requirement in high school. It's always been optional for the lower grades. It has been a requirement for high school that you do offer versus serve. But this waiver, if you choose, allows you to just serve high schoolers as well. And for that one, your clerks will also, when they go into the application and maps to sign up for to fill out the application for next school year, they'll mark that in maps under the high school application. There's a checkbox there to whether you're implementing offer versus serve or whether you're not. So yeah, hope that information helps on the waivers. Again, be sure to fill out that survey when you know what your food service is going to look like next year, and don't be afraid to go back in and change it if needed. Another thing I was going to mention was we are in the process of developing our professional standards trainings to schools, the food service staff and or clerks. For next year, we normally offer an on-site fall workshop. However, we're going to do it virtually, of course, this year. So we would like your input for both the fall workshop 4-hour training as well as your Wednesday webinars for next year. We'd like to know what topics you'd like to be covered, maybe what your preferred time would be to have the Wednesday webinars. It doesn't have to be on Wednesday. You can also change the date. So we'd like your feedback if you don't mind taking the time to fill out this survey for next year's training. Yeah, there's a lot of topics, so just select as many as you'd like for that. And you see Molly is putting that in the chat box as well. If you have time today or even after this webinar, feel free to go in and fill that out. That would be great. I know we've talked about this on previous webinars, but I just wanted to say it again, that there has been developed some checklists for planning different types of meal service in the fall, like classroom meals being delivered to the classrooms, or students maybe picking up the food in the cafeteria and then bringing it to the classroom. So there's some helpful checklists for you to start planning, useful guides to think about when you're planning a new meal service. So those are very helpful. Does anybody have any questions so far on anything? If so, you can unmute yourself or stick it in the chat room. Okay.
Thank you, Erin. This is Molly. I just wanted to really encourage all of you guys to fill out both of the surveys that I just put in the chat box. The flexibility survey is really giving us a good idea on how you plan to do your meals, and that helps us develop materials to help you with your meal service. And then the professional development survey is your chance to tell us really what you would like to learn about and when. So we're going to give you time at the end of the webinar today to go in and at least fill out the professional development survey. You probably need a little more time to do the flexibility survey. Maybe not at the end of the webinar today, but thank you for your willingness to fill those out for us.
Great, thank you. Well, if there's no questions at this point, I'm just going to move on. I've been working on creating maybe like a tip sheet for food service directors and food service staff that just don't know where to begin, because maybe you don't have any information from your school of what next year's going to look like in your classroom or in your cafeteria. But things that maybe you can do to start planning now, some simple tips that you can maybe follow. So I've created this little sheet, and we'll email this out as well so you can see it. But the first thing I kind of thought about was, you know, how to proceed with the uncertainty. And I thought about it might be best to start thinking about a 2-week cycle menu that you can maybe start with, and have that cycle menu be compatible with being served in the cafeteria versus served in a grab and go bag, or versus served in the cafeteria. So maybe think about your top 10 meals that are popular with students, that are easy to serve, easy to prepare, and easy to possibly deliver. Also, think about the foods that you already have available or that you have already ordered and you know are coming in next year, to try to create those easy recipes, or if you already have them created, great, to use in these 2-week cycle menus. And then think about your packaging needs. Ideally, all these meals would be easy to serve in the cafeteria or the classroom or grab and go. But if not, think about what you may need to package those meals or to deliver those meals, whether it be the classroom or via a school bus to their home. So I've created a little idea page, which I'll get to as well. And then have a simple plan when you're creating your menu to maybe meet 1 vegetable subgroup per day or over 2 days of the week if possible. Or there are pre-made cycle menus out there that either you can just adopt or you can modify to what really meets your needs. And then plug in those USDA foods when possible in creating that cycle menu. And I wanted to put a plug in here for Pam, who will be talking a little bit later. But now is your chance to reorder some USDA foods that you may need to use on creating these cycle menus. So Pam will cover that in just a little bit. And then remember to be flexible as plans change, as they probably will several times. Maybe come up with a plan A or B for staffing or delivery. And then I thought about maybe have a plan for an easy and on-hand meal items should you need to change the menu for the day due to short staffing at the last minute. Nobody showed up for work. Delivery delays, the truck didn't come in, you never know. I'm sure it's happened in the past, but maybe just some simple ideas like keep some dry goods on hand, like peanut butter, bulk or individual servings. They're easy to make peanut butter sandwiches, peanut butter and crackers. I don't know if we're getting this year. Pam will probably answer this. There's also maybe tuna fish that comes in a can that's another easy protein option for sandwiches. That was available last year on Saturday. That might be another option. You know, the dry goods of the prepackaged individual applesauce cups, craisins, raisins, or the USDA dried fruit, which can be individually packaged by your staff during their slow time throughout the year. and available on hand if needed. And then I also made a note, like if you do have downtime on a particular day, have your staff start pre-packaging like the USDA fruit, like peaches or pears, into those individual serving size cups. And obviously keep those refrigerated if that's on the menu for the next day or so. So you don't have to come in and cup a whole bunch of fruit one day if you're super busy, but maybe you have time throughout the week to complete that. And just another hint, you can store those number 10 cans of fruit in the fridge so they're already cold and ready for service if you do need to cup them up individually. Any questions so far? Anybody have anything to add to that?
Erin, this is Molly. One thing that I was hoping that could come out of this chat today is if everyone would be willing to think about, like, I love your idea that you said, come up with 10 top meals that students like, are easy to prepare, and are easy to serve. And so for those of you that are on, if you have like 3 or 5 menu items that fit that bill, do you want to put them in the chat box, and then I can make a list of those things and then send that out in the follow-up email, like your guys's top easy meals that are easy to prepare, students like, and you could serve them in the cafeteria of the classroom or grab and go. Just if you want to, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Kate, or Molly. Your name comes Molly, that's a great idea. You know, sharing ideas with other food service directors, that's great, because some people just, they don't know where to start. So having other ideas that are tried and true in the past that will work is great to share.
Great, thanks.
So another thing to maybe start to do is ask to be on the school's task force for planning back to school, or regularly check in with your administration on the plan, maybe get an update from them, even if they don't know, they don't have a concrete plan yet, maybe they have an idea where it may go, just so you can start thinking about logistically how that would affect you and how you could serve meals during whatever model they come up with. And then get creative with your budget. You know, use those USDA foods to fill in where you can. Maybe you can sell meals or cater meals to the adults if you're serving, you know, if you're delivering to the student anyway. Maybe you could collect money in some sort of way for the adult meals if you want to take on that challenge of serving more meals. Adults or those younger siblings who are not students, so therefore won't qualify for the NSLP lunches in the fall. And then get started now, or as soon as your staff comes back, to properly train your food service staff, maybe even the teachers, if they're going to be serving the food. For training your staff, obviously, on safe food handling, personal hygiene, and then keep your training logs, obviously, for your professional development. Anything that you train on to your staff, they get credit for the hours for that training. I kind of suggest there's usually two PIR days before school starts, which is a great time to require your staff to be back for those 2 days to get their training done, to get up to date on, you know, safe food handling, what maybe may have changed. I watched a great webinar about 2 weeks ago from the Institute of Child Nutrition, which is the 2020 Safe Food Handler webinar, which is recorded. You can click on that link if you'd like to incorporate that as part of your training to your staff. They've got new information on how to properly hand wash, how to use gloves, how to use sanitizers, hot heat. It's just a great webinar, and you know, maybe even share it with your administration and they can share it with teachers as well. But I wanted to make a note of that now is maybe the time before school starts to get all that required training in. So food service staff are just ready to go. So I provided a lot of information, a lot of links, things that we've already talked about on these SNP chats. So the first link I just wanted to provide you is the USDA fact sheet. Those are just good to look at as needed, especially when you're ordering your USDA foods, or you need to know how to credit them or cook them or hold them. Provided several recipes and menu websites from different states. Feel free to click on them when we send out this resource and use them as needed to help create your menus or adopt some of their recipes. So I wanted to, give you some ideas about food packaging. Something to start thinking about when you're planning your menu is how are you going to package these menu items? How are you going to serve them? How are you going to get them to the child, whether it be in the classroom, the home, or the cafeteria? So you can just kind of look through these, something as simple as napkins. Do you need more napkin holders that are individual serve, as opposed to this one here where kids are touching a whole bunch of napkins and drop them on the floor and put them back? So something to think about. There's also, what type of plasticware may you need. There's these little 4-ounce cup serving sizes that you can repackage your bulk food items as needed. So I provided some information. I'm not advertising again any of these products. I just want you to know that they're out there for you to maybe research if you think that could be useful for you. Maybe think about how you're going to wrap those individual sandwiches. If you do have to put them in a paper bag, there's the cling wrap out there that has a cutter. You cut it to size, you wrap your sandwich, and you go on. There's also insulated ones out there for your hot sandwiches, for hamburgers, hot ham and cheese, hot chicken sandwiches. It'll keep the food a little bit warm. If you're maybe serving in the classroom and you bring a bulk tub of sandwiches down to distribute on their desk or whatever the case may be, this is a good way to try to keep the food warm. And I just put some little links in there so you have an idea of what maybe this is going to cost. The one on the right with the hamburger here, about $35 I found online for 1,000 of them. That's about 3.5 cents every time you use one of those. So cost is a factor too when you're shopping. And then over here on the left, we've talked about previously the Oliver packaging system. If you do need a whole new way to package food, this does it like little TV dinners, and it puts the little film on top for sealing it. If you're interested in that, there's more information there. There's also information about maybe kids are picking up the tray from the cafeteria and then walking and eating at their classroom desk. So there's information about trays with lids. This one on the bottom I just found today. It's like a reusable, washable up to 2,000 times. It says 3-compartment to-go container. So easy for a kid to, come grab whatever you have in there, your chef salad, your dinner roll, your package of fruit, all in one little case. Maybe have protocol in the classroom then where you bring a tub to their classroom for them to set the dirty tray back in, and then eventually throughout the day collect them back in the dish room to wash for the next day. So there's just things out there that may be useful for you. And then this last unit thing I found was maybe you have a plan to deliver, bulk items to your classroom and then serve them up from there. So there's information on maybe a hot holding unit. Holds about, I think it said about 12 4-inch steam pans. So if it'll keep them warm, you can wheel it down the hallway, whatever your plan may be, this may be of interest to you as a way to keep your hot foods hot. Maybe useful if you're a smaller school. Not sure how many you'd need for a big school and how many people, but something to think about. Does anybody have any questions on this document before I move on? Is there anything in the chat box, Molly?
I don't see any questions in the chat box. Tana said that she did share some menu items that they're planning on serving: chicken sandwiches, hamburgers, and burritos. And all of these items will be individually wrapped so they could be served wherever they need to be served, whether it be cafeteria, classroom, or grab and go.
Great, yeah, great planning. And maybe some of these, you know, food packaging items could be useful if you haven't already looked into them. I didn't even go over this page here, but we've talked about that previously. There are the individual bag sealers. If you needed to, you know, get a whole roll of food safe plastic bags and individually wrap your baby carrots or your cucumber slices to send that in your paper bag or whatever, this little taping machine just so quickly just puts a piece of tape over it so you can easily put it in your bag. And then this bag sealer with a cutter down here will seal those bags and also cut them off the roll as well. So wanted to post some options for that for packaging ideas as well. And then
Erin, can I just ask you quickly, that 3-compartment washable tray, can you run that through your commercial dishwasher?
yes, I saw, and the link will give you videos and more information about it, but yeah, it's washable up to 2,000 times. And it sounds like for their advertising that like universities are really adopting this plan for take out of the dorm or their food service hall and take away and then bring it back to the dish room in exchange for the next meal or however it may work with them. So yeah, and it looks like it's about, you know, $5.69 per, you know, tray. But, you know, if you have an idea that you may need something like this, that may be a good option for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So next thing that I want to talk about that I tried to just create, kind of just try to put myself in your shoes because I've been in your shoes as food service director before, of creating a 2-week sample menu, cycle menu. So I created this yesterday from things that I thought maybe I would have on hand or would be easy to serve. And this is kind of just something like maybe the process that you may need to do and things to think about or consider when you're creating your menu. So if anybody's interested, this is going to be a resource, and you can click on these links to actually see the recipe as well and how much those recipes credit for. I did link them all to their appropriate website that I found the recipes on. Hopefully you have a lot of recipes on hand, but if needed, there's recipes out there. And then, you know, I tried to, you know, get easy things that are handheld or easily packageable in those like 4-ounce cups, let's say, like maybe a corn and tomato salad. And then I try to make notes for myself. Well, if I'm going to serve this meal in the classroom, maybe I need to send a fork for that day as opposed to just all the utensils, or no utensils are needed this day because they're all handheld items. So trying, and then also maybe put down what you may need to order to package this meal as well. Then you got to look at your menu and make sure you're meeting both the daily requirements for every component, but also the weekly requirements for every component, including all the vegetable subgroups for the week as well. I just wanted to give you an option. This is how I did it, if that helps. But Kansas has a great menu planning and production record forms that I used. So when I was done with this menu, I could tell that I was meeting all the weekly requirements and daily, you just can't see that, of all the components. And this is done for K through 8 you can redo it for your high schoolers as well. And I'll show you what that form looks like if anybody's interested in using that. It is a great resource if you don't have a menu planning tool yet. You know, I talked about picking your top 10 items. You know, a lot of these are handheld sandwiches, whether they're hot or cold. So you need to think about, how am I going to wrap cold? How am I going to wrap hot items as well? And to make it easier on you if needed, if you are going to do an offer versus serve model in the classroom, I think it can be done. There just may need to be some extra planning involved and logistics of, you know, how to do that in every classroom. So I kind of made a note here. This is all of the veggie subgroups. Maybe send a variety of prepackaged ones with lids to the classroom. Therefore, you can say you offered it. You don't have to send, you know, the same amount of every item, because the kid, you'll get to know your kids and hopefully and what items they do take. But maybe that could be offered one day, so you can say you've offered every item throughout the week. That just is an idea. I made some notes on the menu items about, you know, if you do look at any of these recipes, you can modify them as needed to help meet your crediting if needed for different grades. And then I wanted to list all the USDA foods that I used in this menu. And as you can see, there's a lot. In this 2-week menu, I've used all these items. Now, of course, USDA foods, they only cover probably about 20% of your food purchases, but this is a great way to help save money when you can adopt some of these menu items. And then I said things to think about with wasting food with just the serve model. A lot of people are saying they're just going to go to serve because it's easier, and that may be the case. I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but just think about that, of how much waste you could have in the classroom. As I know you've seen the waste that comes through in the cafeteria when there is offer versus serve. But if you're just serving, you do have to serve those full amount of food that's on the meal pattern. So for instance, for breakfast, you have to serve a whole cup of fruit. If you're just serving with offer versus serve, they could choose to take just a half a cup. So, you know, maybe do some brainstorming ideas of how you could still possibly try to implement offer versus serve, if that will work for you or not. And it, yeah. You know, how to think about using it in the classroom, maybe have a pre-order survey for each class. The classrooms are always already taking meal orders in the morning. Maybe you could just add a few more things onto the teacher's to-do list. So I've created a classroom lunch order form that basically asks, do they want the entree, do they want the fruit or vegetable or both, and do they want a milk? And then that tallies it at the bottom. They send it to the office, and then the office can tally it up for you, or however that works in your school. This is just an idea.
Erin, would you mind to shuffle your screen and bring
Yes.
the classroom lunch order form up to the front?
Absolutely.
Thank you. There you go. Now we can see it.
Try to make it bigger. All right, so this is what the form that I just created looks like. You can adopt it, you can create your own, however it works in your school, if this scenario will work for you. But it would require the teachers being trained on what a reimbursable meal is or looks like. So this is the order form. Basically, offer versus serve, the students must take 3 out of the 5 components. So the main entree, in my case, usually counts as 2 components because they're usually a sandwich or a chef's salad. And then you'll list, you know, maybe they will have a pre-filled list of all the students in that classroom. They go through and, you know, they raise their hand, or teacher goes through one student at a time. Do you want the hamburger? Yes, no. Do you want the apple? Yes, no. Do you want the corn? Yes, no. Which milk do you want? And then also include the teachers or any adults that are eating, and get a total at the bottom. That way it would give an idea of the, for the kitchen, of how much food to serve or to send to that classroom. And of course, you can have procedures in place where you send a couple of extra items in addition to what they signed up for. So that was the form to be filled out in the morning, possibly for offer versus serve if you're interested. And then when you're serving lunch in the classroom, this is a sample of the daily meal count form, which this teacher would count, you know, hopefully they'll have the pre-filled names of the student and their lunch number. And they just mark, did they take a complete meal or did they just take a milk for those kids that brought their own meal? And then I did leave on an extra column over here where maybe for some reason the student was just difficult and they just wanted a fruit, let's say, or just a sandwich. They can go ahead and mark it as non-reimbursable in this column, or if you're doing for some reason seconds, which could be a nightmare in the classroom situation, you can mark it over there. And then also account for any adult meals that are served. And then return this form back to the cashier or the office or the food service director, whatever procedure you'll have in place for implementing this, if it's something you wanted to implement. So yeah, so I just kind of a little bit of instructions where teachers can, you know, a complete meal taken, you can put 1 in that column, or you can put an X, or you can put yes, whatever you choose to implement for you. And then wanted to provide the teachers with, if it is just serve, what a reimbursable meal looks like. It'll probably be all prepackaged anyway, but does anybody have any questions on either of these forms, or has anybody already created something if they are doing meals in the classroom? Maybe have something in place already for breakfast in the classrooms?
Erin, Pam just put in the chat that would older students possibly be able to help collect and tally orders?
Absolutely. I think that is just fine to collect those orders, you know, maybe that's the student's job of the day. I don't know, every student gets a different job, different classes. But as long as they're trained on, you know, filling it out properly, and they're just collecting the order. So if it's terribly wrong, it's okay. But definitely for the daily meal count form, that's something I would kind of recommend an adult does, because that's a reimbursable form. Like, you're going to enter these numbers to get reimbursed, and it has to be accurate to what student took a reimbursable meal or not. And this could help the cashier too, is, you know, if they just sign up for a milk, the cashier could easily, you know, find the student and their number and just charge them for a milk, because schools charge for just a milk, or for a complete meal usually.
Is anyone to this point that you are talking with are you developing forms for teachers to use to take meal counts? Have you started any training with your teachers? Or is anybody using forms that you're already using for breakfast in the classroom? Would you also be using those for lunch in the classroom?
This is Leanne at Lambert Schools, and we are using our gym, half of our gym, to set up lunch tables so we can feed all of our kids in the lunchroom and the gym instead of in their classrooms.
Oh, that's nice.
Great.
Will they go to the service line, Leanne, and then take their tray to the gym?
We haven't figured that out yet. We're thinking maybe we're going to have to split our lunches up more than what we have them right now. Yeah, we haven't got to that yet. We just know we're not doing in the classroom. That's the only thing I've been told for sure.
Well, that makes it easier to plan because you can remove that model.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Here in Conrad, we're also serving in the lunchroom, and they're talking about doing one grade at a time. and just making more lunch services in each of the school buildings.
Great. Yeah, if you're able to get them into the cafeteria, then you can really utilize offer versus serve in a more traditional way, which would really be nice.
Yeah, ideally, I think most of you or most food service directors would prefer eating in the cafeteria. That's what we know how to do. That's what, you know, you're set up for. If you are having to change your model, your serving model to do anything other than that is a challenge. And it's good to just get prepared with ideas of how to make that work for you and your school. And then I see a comment from Tammy up in Ennis. They're having meetings to decide what to do. The teachers do not want to eat in the classroom. Great. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're being part of that talk group as well to help decide on what to do for next year, Tammy, as well. I got another comment. Due to Hinsdale only having 65 kids, we will be able to get our students in the cafeteria at staggered times. That's great. Yeah, staggering those lunch periods, you know, that would help. That would be great. Allows your food service people to quickly serve them. They eat, you know, they can wipe down the tables before the next group comes in. That sounds like a good model if you're able to do that in a small school. Brittany in Belgrade said, we will most likely be doing breakfast and lunch in the classroom. Still to be determined though. Yes, that it's going to be a lot of work to plan, but at least you have experience in doing breakfast in the classroom already, Brittany. So you have some processes maybe already in place for the breakfast and just have to maybe modify them a little bit logistically to how to do that for all those kids for lunch now. So great. Let's see, what else did I do here?
We will send Erin's great, all of these resources that Erin just shared. I'll make sure I send out in the follow-up message so everybody will have them.
I did want to show that Kansas menu planner and production record tool. I'll just show it to you real quickly. Basically, I transferred my whole 2-week menu, just 1 week at a time, onto this tool, Monday through Friday. And then there's tabs down here at the bottom, K through 8 or 9 through 12, that lets me put in the serving size for each of those items, and then lets me fill in what they credit towards to see if I'm meeting the daily requirement for each item, and then also for the weekly requirement. This is just a great tool to use for that. So as you can see, I put in the menu, the serving size, and what it credits for, and it tallies it automatically at the bottom. It will say yes if I've met those daily requirements, or no, and I need to possibly go back and change something. So I did that for each day of the week. And then at the bottom, it tells me if I've met it for the week, the weekly requirements for all those subgroups and all the components. Really simple to use, but it does take a little bit of a learning curve to start using it. And then it will actually print out or do your production record. It looks a little different than probably the Montana form that you're used to using, which is usually vertical. This one puts it in there horizontally for you, and you can adopt this as a production record if that helps you. This year may not be the time for change, but it could be a useful tool in planning those 2-week menu cycles, just to ensure that based on your recipes and your food items for the day, that it is meeting the daily requirements and weekly requirements for whatever grade group you are doing that for. Yeah, that is pretty much all I have. And I know Pam wants to talk a little bit about USDA foods. So if you have any more questions over anything that I can help you with, please let me know. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And I'll introduce you to Pam.
Thank you, Erin. Wow, that was awesome information.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah, well, you did a great job. That was a ton of just lots of really useful stuff. And it'll be great to see how people, you know, take pieces and parts of that and put it together and, you know, maybe mix it up with showing their menu ideas and what kind of packaging equipment they used. And we can all just, you know, put our heads together and figure this thing out as best we can. So that was really interesting. My stuff, and Erin did a lot on USDA Foods. I have 3 slides that that Molly made for me here. The first one is important email message coming on a paper airplane to you. Sent it today. Just basically announcing we have to completely redo our February annual survey, where that's the one where you go into maps and you put down all the USDA foods that you would like to have for the coming school year. So for the 2020-21 school year. It's also where you do your DoD Fresh allocations and your processing allocations if you're one of the few schools that does that. So anyway, that was all in place. And basically, in a nutshell, I made a mistake. I used the wrong survey. So I went to start processing the surveys. I couldn't do it. I couldn't fix it. So I had to come back to you guys and ask you to please redo those for me. So there's a new survey in MAPS. It's number 156, the only survey that's open right now. On the bright side, it is a chance. I mean, when we did that annual survey / order in February, we had no idea what was coming. So this is your chance to go back through the list of USDA foods, taking into consideration like some of the things that Erin's talked about, things that you already had in the works, and maybe change up your request a little bit. Have a look at that and see if you can make some adjustments. If you need information about, I had to clear out your previous survey, your number 133 survey, to restore your entitlement so you could do the survey 156. So you won't have a record unless you printed one out or saved a copy. You won't have a record of what you had already asked for. But I do have that record. So if you need it, let me know. If you don't need it, wing it. Whatever, you know, it's just 2020. So what else did I want to say about that? Oh, if you are a DoD Fresh user, your DoD Fresh survey is fine. It's intact. When you go into your survey 156, your DoD money has already been taken out of there, so you don't have to worry about allowing for that. What you see in your survey 156 is what you have to spend. So I'll leave it at that. You can always contact me individually. I did schedule a Zoom meeting and I put that link in the email I sent today. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I can walk you guys through it too if anybody has problems or questions. So let's see, so that pretty much takes care of that. Strategies to use your USDA foods in various ways. Erin did a really good job of going over that. And you guys probably already have a lot of good ideas. I did break out some inventory sheets, just basic. Oh, let's do this one. So this kind of does go hand in hand with your new survey that you'll be filling out. You do have the shipment schedule now. So that's kind of an advantage over doing it in February when you have no idea when we're getting things. This is what we're planning on for the school year, and it should be pretty solid. So far, we've been very lucky in having all of our orders purchased. This is what you can look at, like, for example, shipment number 1, starting in August. The first trucks will leave out of here on August 17th for routes 1 and 2. As in previous years, we'll run 8, 9, or 10 routes, depending on how big our orders are. And we'll just cycle through them until we hit every school district in the state. So August, we'll start with the items you see there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's pretty much it. And let's see, one thing that's different, I got the spaghetti sauce in a pouch this year instead of a can. So let me know how you like that. And let's see, so that pretty much takes care of of that. So now go ahead, Molly, to that next one. I don't want to take up too much time, so there's other things to go over here. So here's some, oh, thank you for making that look nice. It was just a spreadsheet when I sent it to her at 11 o'clock. I wanted to just break out in a listing by food type of things that we already are getting in single serve portions. So most of them you've thought of, but maybe some will strike you in a different way. The frozen apricots are new this year.
Let's see, I'm going to pull up the inventory sheets, Pam.
Okay. So those single serve things, if you, some of them like raisins, we didn't have nearly enough requests for raisins to bring them in, but maybe we will now, so let me know. We do have some open spots on our shipment schedule for the spring, so I can still order some more trucks. So let me know what you think would be useful and helpful for you guys. And then this was the other resource, just listing by food type of different USDA foods. So the one we can see here, the grains, those Oat Circle cereal bowls. Last year they were Cheerio brand single serving bowl pack. This year, it could be a different vendor. We'll see who wins the bid. It could be Cheerios, could be somebody else. And so that just kind of lets you maybe go through those lists of USDA foods and think about, I don't know, black beans. How could I use those? Could I put those just in a cup, or refried beans in a cup? We used to always do that on our salad bar. Some kids love to eat refried beans out of a cup. I don't know. So anyway, hopefully that'll just kind of give you another, just a quick overview of USDA foods. If anything jumps out at you, get a hold of me and, put it on your survey or contact me, and really want to try to help you guys get the most that you can out of your USDA foods, just to make that go as far as it can. I know food costs are going up, and anything that we can do to make it easier. For DoD Fresh users, I want to tell you that we are working with our vendor to bring in more single serve portions of fresh fruits and vegetables with DoD Fresh. In particular, they're looking at a salad mix that comes in an easy open bag that'll be dated and labeled, and it's how much is it? 2 cups of salad mix, whatever the portion is. They are also looking at like cauliflower florets, broccoli florets. There's some different things in there, so not just baby carrots. So hopefully we'll be able to get those on the catalog, so you'll have some choices for individually packaged that you won't have to worry about going through that step. It'll come to you that way. So I'll be sending out an email about that too when we know more. But yeah, so that's my super fast nutshell, and I'm here. Let me, if you have questions or ideas, just get a hold of me or get stuck on that survey. And yeah, so that'll wrap it up, I think, for USDA Foods, unless anybody has any questions. I didn't look in the chat.
Pam, there is a good question in the chat, and it is, when does the USDA food survey need to be resubmitted? Is there a due date?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Yes, I sent it out without that important piece of information. Wednesday, July 29th, please, would be great.
Pam, I have a question. I'm from Lambert School, but I'm here with Richie. They got a new cook, and can she get into this some way besides going through MAPS, because she's not approved to go into MAPS yet?
She can call me and I will go in and we'll do it together.
Okay, I will tell her. Well, she just heard you, actually. We're sitting here together.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for doing that. We'll do it together, and then I'll show you how to get access to MAPS.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And she can go in and fill out that MAPS approval form.
We did that, yep.
3 to 5 days. Okay, great. Get that in the process.
Yep, we did.
And Pam, I just had a question. Can schools change, like increase the amount of their DoD Fresh at this time, or is that already set and doesn't change?
they can. We will figure it out. If
Okay.
you want to change something in your DoD Fresh, you weren't doing it, you want to do it, or you go through your list and decide you want to put more money there, we'll figure it out. Call me.
Okay, Pam, I have one more question too. Can you even tell if Richie's other cook even did a order for them? Because nobody here seems to know.
I can find out and I'll let you know after.
Okay.
Let's see, probably easier for you to contact me afterward.
Okay, we'll find out then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Great.
Wow, good stuff, Pam. Thank you.
Pam and Aaron, I'm putting a lot of this information on the Facebook page because it gets seen pretty quickly. So I just put resubmit for Pam by July 29th on there. Is that good?
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tammy, which Facebook page are you putting that on? I'm just curious.
On the Montana School Nutrition Association page. Are
Oh,
you
okay.
on there?
Got it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're getting close to 1 o'clock. So does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about today? And or do you have topics that you would like us to research and share with you on the next chat? I do want to let you know that our next chat, which would be July 30th, we are going to postpone that to the following week to allow everyone to, instead of doing the chat, we thought it would be good if you wanted to listen into this free webinar from School Nutrition Association, especially if you're going to be serving meals in your classroom. They're going to share a new resource they developed on a classroom dining guide. So if you do want to participate in this, please do register early because sometimes the spots do fill up. And there's the link to register, and I'll put it in the follow-up minutes to this webinar as well. And then look.
Question.
Oh yes.
Sorry. There we go. There's another question I see in there. Are we still doing the fresh fruit and vegetable program for K through 6, which is different than the DoD Fresh that Pam's talking about? That is still a program, and I believe schools have already been contacted, but not all of them, if they have the funds available to run that program. If you haven't been contacted or you need more information about that, please contact the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Manager, Caroline Olson. I'll put her email address in the chat box, but she could definitely advise you on that if you are a participant in that program or not. Does that help, Joel?
Kurt Marthaler has a good question. Can we use these chat sessions as training? Yes, I would say that you can, Kurt. And I think, would it just be helpful if I send out a fill in the blank certificate of participation with the follow-up message to this chat? And you could put in the topic and the amount of minutes that you participated in it. Okay. One topic that we ran out of time to discuss today were menu planning ideas to when you're providing bulk meal service. So if you're going to be providing meals to students that are learning from home and you're going to do more than one meal or one day at a time, maybe we can talk about that in our chat, which will be coming up in the next couple weeks. Does anybody else have ideas on topics that you would like information on? The next chat will occur, gosh, August 6th. If you think of a topic between now and August 6th, please do email Molly or Katie or any of the specialists, and we can work that topic into the chat. Because we really want these to be useful for you, things that you need information about in a timely manner. I'm going to take a minute and put the link to the registration for that SNA webinar in the chat. I want to thank Erin for all the time she spent in developing that sample 2-week cycle menu, and all of the resources she provided is wonderful. I think we're really lucky to have a specialist at OPI School Nutrition that also has the background of a food service director, because she can see it from all angles.
Thank you, Molly. It was my pleasure to help create any resource I can to help the food service directors in Montana plan for next year. Big task.
Okay, I'm going to put this link in the chat box. If anybody dialed, or if anybody called in on the telephone and you did not have a chance to put your name and email address in the chat box, would you please stay on the phone with me so that we could do that? So I could get you added to the roster and then make sure you get the follow-up minutes. Is there anything else before we sign off? I appreciate everybody being on today and sharing your ideas. You guys are great. I'm going to stay on a few minutes if you're on the phone and you want to share your information with me, but everybody else, have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you, Erin and Pam.